Beautiful ignited souls, we are ready for a new creation. Beautiful ignited souls, thank you for joining me, Crime a Queen, on the Earth Ship. Yeah, this is where, of course, we learn to cultivate the art of self-love, to cover an aspect of my teachings, which is, of course, sexual abuse, but really it's about cultivating the art of self-love. But specifically for people who have been sexually abused, traumatized, molested, or whatever, whether you have been the perpetrator of such crimes, incidents, whatever it is, you may not have known better at the time. But guess what? You know, the universe has not left you out on this channel. The universe have included the left and the right because we are about to create balance and to say, yes, we are learning to ride over this and to learn the art of self-love. With all the elements, fire, air, water, and earth, you deal with those things, and of course to create a right environment for that plant to grow. Now guess what? You are the plant, you are the earth, you are the environment, you are co-creator with the universe. And so wherever you are, in whatever aspect of your makeup that is beckoning you now for attention to cultivate the art of self-love, you are being that right now. Simple. So anyway, I had an inclination. I opened this, and like I usually do, of course, this is part of my journey, the second volume of the Crimson Light. This is the first volume of the Crimson Light, a bridge to actualizing self-love. We are about bridging the gap. We are about bridging to reach to where we need to be, the fifth dimension, being co-creator with the universe. This is what we are about. So I am going to just like I do, I open a page and I think just go along with it. Now this is the introduction, so I don't know what you're going to get from it, but I do follow spirit and to say, okay, just go along with it. And chapter 5, of course, because 5 is key. So bridge construction, this is like what my bridge was constructed. So I won't give you too much on this, but I found this one of the most delicious chapters because there was a real wonderful awakening and realization that I had found a key. This is why it is called bridge construction. So there are no accidents and no coincidences. And remember this, nothing happens by chance, but by choice. Nothing. I had made the choice to go into the school with the woman in black and observe the white face clock on the wall had showed 11 o'clock sharp just before going off to sleep on for an hour on the red couch. I also noticed that I had awoken at midnight to the bright crimson light all around. I was not afraid to step outside, for I had become one with the door that had beckoned me on. That's when I discovered that it was still bright outside, and I saw the dogs, whose language I understood, just like the 6-inch thick door. So, of course, the door was six inches. Now, you may be wondering why 6 inches. This is what they are talking about, 6 feet apart. But that's how spirit was working through me. I was able to actually have a relationship with this dog. Okay, I could breathe. Resignation gave me a nudge. His usual cue for my attention, by which I understood that not a lot happens without resignation. An eclipse had taken place. Chatterbox's presence seemed completely overshadowed by resignation's liveliness and extreme joy, like a warm sensation going down my spine. So Chatterbox and resignations have been personified as my allies, my personal allies. You too have personal allies, so you can find out who they are as you cultivate the art of self-love. It was the revelation of the first hour of a new day and a new era. Instead of observing buildings and cornfields in my head and Mr. Barack Altido stepping into a tomb casket just like that, there was a sweet and gentle voice in my head. I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven and unto the bridge of actualizing self-will love. And whatsoever you shall bind on the earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose in the earth shall be loosed in heaven. On hearing these words, all my attention turned inwards with little regard to my surroundings. The absence of chatterbox fostered the gravity of my engagement with Mr. Altido, and I began to imagine, what if his descent were an actual ascension? And what would it be like? Suddenly, a 6-foot veil with pink and silver shades of light appeared directly in front of me. And like a warm greeting of the dogs, I felt safe, followed by the total amazement of resignation's tone, which sounded more like an excited child opening the Christmas gift. Lavia, this is Presence, one of the elders. She gently unveiled her head, revealing a wide smile that immediately filled my heart with delight. And in her deep yet eloquent voice, Presence said, "Hello, my dear child. Welcome on board. So glad that you are here." My attention was captured by the ceremonial entrance of 6 other veiled figures who had taken their positions, 3 on either sides of Presence. I got the feeling that they were expecting me, just like the 2 dogs outside GPS. But with one difference, the elders did not walk away. Instead, they surrounded me as though I was on display. Without shifting her gaze, Presence continued, "You might have figured by now we are the 7 pillars that construct the bridge of this fair." The verbal introduction continued with Presence as each elder took their turn and bowed in reverence as faith, truth, unity, conviction, forgiveness, and endurance. I'll tell you, they're my elders. Okay. I was captivated by their warmest, inexplicable embrace, one in essence that touched every cell in my body and every breath that I took, now just like Sleeping Beauty in her waking to a kiss. So was my awakening, definitely not to be missed. I hope you find something in this, but this was part of my healing, part of my journey, which I felt so delicious. This is a beautiful thing about writing. So I just go along with as I'm nudged to do. But this presentation, of course, is to encourage people who have not yet been in this place of healing. And of course, I must say that my healing progress or process was over a very, very long time. This is why I understand when some people say, oh yeah, once you've been molested or sexually traumatized, you never really healed. Some would say you never really healed or something. But I can tell you, TRSHC don't only heal you, it breaks the generational curse and cycle. It's like it gets rid of that cancerous cell. Okay, and that's what we are on about. So, I want to talk about a little to understand how much energy that I am giving to this cause, but it's the consciousness that I want to bring to light about what is happening in our world today. So we are going to use a current situation as with Brother Polight, who is allegedly the crime of sexual assault on a 14-year girl. So this this crime, which is allegedly committed by Brother Polight, of course, is based on evidence or that someone would put Kelly's name on. Just had this this notice came on with Kelly and other words, and there is another case with Art Kelly, of course, as well. So we are talking about this crime, or which is allegedly committed by Brother Polight in the media. And now, if you don't know Brother Polight, in fact, I do urge that you just have a little, you don't have to dive too much into it. However, we've got to give it to the guy. He speaks so eloquently. He is, very bright, we could say. Now, some people condemn him and say, "Oh, I'm away from this because he's got all the tags that are not very pleasant," which we won't go into right now. But it's the I have to say that putting all this negative scenario of that alleged crime onto a side, I have learned some things by listening to his teachings. And this is what it is, that you find that some people who are so bright. I remember growing up, you'd hear, "Oh, this one's too bright for their own good," or too bright for, yeah, I used to wonder what did they mean by being too bright for their own good. I think in this case of Brother Polight, that would seem very appropriate to make such a comment as being too bright for his own good. Because even, for instance, after this alleged, the cases or charges has been brought, counts or 7 counts of charges be presented, and I am not quite sure, but yeah, he's on bail for, I think, 46. That was something I thought, $46,000, and I thought that is really like number 46, the crucifixion, the sacrifice, So I have been watching and looking at this case a lot from a spiritual, when I say spiritual, from what I teach from that perspective. So I speak a lot on number 14, for instance, and the young lady is 14 years of age, which correlates with Eve, EVE, which is 14, directly 14. Our 1 plus 4 is 5. And if you watch some of my old videos as well, I also say that 5, of course, correlates with Christ too, and Christ had taken on the same kind of the embodiment of Eve in the story of the crucifixion. So there's 14 on the clock here. So we are looking at, I have been looking at this case in that kind of perspective. So, for instance, what is the global message here, if you like? It's more like a global message. It's more like Eve, or okay, someone ate of the apple, and Eve is going to, gets the blame, but no one remembers to say, well, hey, in the story how we read it or how we've been taught, the command of not eating of the apple or touching of the fruit was not given to Eve, it was given to Adam. So people have been going on with this, oh, she's the root of all evil and so on, but my teachings are very different. I see that as the 2 serpents, the caduceus. There's a medicine happening right here. That 7, a serpent, the 2 serpents. The 2 serpents are representation of a healing. I see it as the 14, number 14 is indicative of that newness that we are moving into, a new creation. Like we say, we are ready for a new creation, and it comes, this is where, like in the teachings of Jesus, there is something, it says, like wisdom will come through a child, if you like. That's why it says the least you do to, or what you do to the least of these, you do unto me. So basically, the child is representing Christ in this sense. This is just a perfect text to really explain this. The least you do to one of these, you do unto me. And that was a scenario with Christ, of course, where the children were there, and they, his disciples were saying, go away, go away. And he was more or less saying that we are one, that which you do unto one, you do unto the other. Me is number 9, which means there is a new beginning happening right here. This is what is happening. So back to Brother Polight. So Brother Polight, in case you don't know, is a motivational speaker. He's also he's also a mentor for celebrities. He mentor. I should really get. Let's see, because I did pull it up. Okay, so in fact, I just found this quite interesting. He says, there it is. Yeah. My father was a firstborn, nation of the gods of earths. And the other side of my family was Sunni Muslim, and my grandmother sent me to Holy Rosemary Catholic Church. I was raised under the 3 gods that would not cooperate with each other. I think he's referring to the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I had 3 gods and both my family, and I remained impoverished. Today I say that money is my religion and the black woman is my God. We have our own language. Now I am eating. Eat equals 8. And I've always said, whenever there is a big major change or something, the food, the eat of the apple, where it was the children of Israel eat of manna, and Jesus Christ ate and they ate, and all of those things come through the same story of Adam and Eve ate of the apple. So major change is happening here, major change. And I'm just being reminded to extend and send loving vibrations to this 14-year-old girl. So we send our loving vibrations to you. Okay. I will respect, and here it goes, I will respect your faith. Please respect mine. Mother Nature is a baddie. This is what he said there. I got on one knee for her. Will you marry me? So I think that is saying again, the black woman is God. So will you marry me? And sees the black woman as God. So there is more, of course, about his childhood. So he often gives the story about knowing his mother for 1 week, 7 days, I think it was, not having a close relationship with his father, and there's just a lot, which of course happens to. I don't think there is anyone who has made a real mark in the earth, whether they have turned ugly or not, has not had a story to tell, a story that really touches the heart, the core. And so, of course, that in itself, so if you have been sexually abused or sexually traumatized, don't be discouraged that people who have been in a position of making a mark and they have like turned and molest other people and so on. No, I think those who have made significant changes well have gone through their own metamorphosis. And it doesn't mean that you can't, because I feel oftentimes we stop ourselves from enjoying or becoming because we observe people like the case of Brother Polight and think, oh no, perhaps I best just have a mediocre lifestyle or whatever it is. If something's in your heart to do, go and do it and exercise your faith that the universe is going to give you exactly what you need to do it. When I started writing and I thought I'm going to write one book, and I knew that I had to write a book, but I went on not knowing much about writing, but I ended up writing two. And of course, I've got other volumes for me to edit. So I'm just saying, not only that, the most beautiful thing about all of this is that the journey is so delicious. You are becoming the expression of true creativity, whatever the universe had created you to be. So by you taking on such a journey of transformation, you are not only impacting your own life, but people around you as well. You are permeating your good senses into your environment, and of course putting a smile on someone else's face, thinking, oh, is that the same person? Oh, she's changed. And you just enjoy your process. So, the black woman is God is based on the melanin, and that black women are the root of human, in that sense of coming from Africa, and all tribes and all nations came from Africa and so on. That is the teaching, whether you accept it or not, but that is the teaching. But the irony of all this here is that this black woman who is God now at 14 is in the spirit realm, as in the words, which I think is his words right here, as in these words here, which I have picked on, let's see, it's saying that Mother Earth, let's see, yeah, Mother Nature is a body, meaning Mother Nature has its way of, this is what they say, God works in a mysterious way. So basically, in this situation at the age of 14, and the scale of the charges, or this which Brother Polight is allegedly accountable to, is that Mother Nature is a body that is going to have a scale of correction, of correction, because this is not only about Brother Polight, which is what I'm trying to say. It's not only about Brother Polight. It's about every person, male or female, who have sexually abused or sexually traumatized, or have played a part in someone else being sexually traumatized, directly or indirectly. That is what I'm trying to say. In this sense, to have such a phenomenal case is that as a 14-year-old, you are representing God, you are representing Mother Eve, you are representing the black woman as God in those words here, meaning that the black woman is my God. Okay, she's a young woman, young lady. Yeah, but Mother Nature is a body. So this body is going to indirectly put things right, I hope. Indirectly, in some way, directly or indirectly, or both, is going to make a mark that's going to open a can of worms, so to speak, because in the I think it's called, in the conscious community, house of consciousness, that's what he's supposed to be under, or have created a community in house of consciousness. And that means that people who have been enabling that kind of behavior, or people who have or been subjected to that behavior and had not spoken, or people who have had intentions, or in any way whatsoever, this is going to create such an impact that people will have to listen, pay attention, and actually, there's a term the Christians would use, make your wrong right. So repent of their sins. So I wanted to, there is so much I wanted to say to do, and I'm going to call on the God of the 14 gods that we are the embodiment of, which is the said God. So it's the God of speaking, the said God, which is the third God in Genesis of chapter 1 and verse 3, when it is said, "Let there be light." So I'm asking of the said God, let there be light in what I am saying, that, well, it's a little bit late in the in this, but the said God is not going to be judgmental here on 27 minutes. So the said God is like, yeah, is there anything else we need to say or we need to add on this where Brother Polight is? Because what I think I'm going to do is perhaps do another or other videos where I could do a numerical value or numerical equation, and to see what might show up. Because somehow when we do the numerical vibrations or numerical equation, so much knowledge and insight tend to come up. So basically, yes, so on Brother Polight here, whose real name is actually Michael. Is born Michael Nowak, and he was born as a Leo on August, meaning 10th of August, 1983. And I have, of course, done some figures, which shows that he's actually very creative. I think he has his clove line, which is, so he was born a year 3, the 8th month of the year, which is a Leo. So we have the 8, the symbol of infinity. Of course, one who strikes the balance or aims to strike the balance. The number 10 as his day number is supposed to be so intuitive, one of the most intuitive numbers of having 10, 1 and 0. So it's interesting to see what has happened here. I think that would mean that sometimes people just take their gifts a little bit, we people become complacent, because when there has been a formula that has worked, which is which is what happens with people who abuse others, they tend to have a way of, having a formula that works. They know the word that works. They study you. They know your language. They know your weaknesses. They know your strengths. And basically, they don't give your strength much attention, because they are weakening you as much as possible. But there is the other thing that happens, is that as the human nature, we have a tendency to, or there's a natural and innate tendency to grow, to evolve, to develop. And no matter what it is that you're doing, whether you are singing, the more you do it, the more you evolve in that area. Likewise, in any acts of sexual misconduct, the more you do it is the more you would want to explore. There is an innate tendency to want to explore and to do more, to arrive, to evolve. And that, in a sense, is where often these people who are that way inclined to traumatize others have that's how they actually get caught. Now, there's the other thing that happens too with people who have been subjected to that kind of behavior, is that Again, the more you do something is the more you are likely to do it, and so on. So being weakened and weakened because you have now allowed yourself to take that position. Oftentimes, even if you don't like it, even though you find it unpleasant, even if you're ashamed, but then that becomes the road that you are on. It's like being on the A406 or something, or the A25, whatever it is. So you on that road, and sometimes it's difficult to say, no, I'm going to turn on. I also want to highlight there's a part of me. Well, should I highlight that part of me? No. But there is that aspect of Brother Polight that it's almost irresistible. And yeah, perhaps that's what I would call Brother Polight being irresistible. I mean, the guy can really, he has a way with words. He has a way with words. And words, of course, remember that I have been talking a lot about words. People think it's that you are just gullible when someone speaks so eloquently or tells you the things that perhaps you really need to know. For instance, on a spiritual path, yes, Brother Polight knowing perhaps more about Egypt and Hebrew and so on. Isn't that why we watch Hollywood? Because they're presenting things to us that we are perhaps too lazy to go and check out for ourselves. Isn't that why we were glued to a set? We watch documentaries, videos, and all kinds of movies and stuff, because they're not talking like the other day, and no, they are just getting you thinking. Even if sometimes you already like I often say, oh, I wrote the script because I could see what's coming, but it's that he speaks so well. He speaks so eloquently. He can hold an argument, even if what he's saying may not make total sense. But the idea is he can argue a point. And I find that very fascinating. I mean, especially for someone who's doing presentations. And of course, if I were in a position to feel, that I could just fire words like this, bam, 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 and that, of course, creates more confidence, because you are able to speak in ways that people can understand your point, even if they don't quite agree with you, but they're not really left with saying, I don't understand. You are able to articulate something so eloquently and simplistically, even if there are times he is using words that are long from here to eternity, but he has a way of still bringing it across that it makes sense. So I find that I would be quite irresistible to that, although I have to say, I mean, I used to watch Brother Polight. I watched him a few times, and this is because, of course, because of my own personal journey, I have learned not to subject myself to any one specific person, in the sense that I have to speak their language, drink their word, and so on. But back to the word, what I was saying is, when people think you are gullible and you listen to people like this, remember that I said we are mobile Bibles. We are made of codes, and it's important that we understand the depth of this of our makeup, so we understand what traps us, if you like. So because we are made up of codes or words, it's like a computer. Every time someone is talking and you hear the words, of course it goes into your heart, into the heart. Let's get the spiritual pimps. They know how to talk. They know how to get your attention. They know how to this is what I mean. They know how, because this is what I'm trying to say here. We are you and I. I. We are verse. We are the verse. So when someone is talking, like, doing all this long and eloquent words and so on, they are tapping succinctly into your codes and the desire you have had, for instance, to know something, to learn something, which you would ask, like, say, last year you would ask about, oh, I wonder about these the pyramids, I wonder who made this, and someone comes and give you an explanation because you haven't been bothered to check for yourself. They're tapping into your codes, into your Bible codes. So you hear the words Hear, you hear the words, but the words are in your heart. So the T is just that cross to or nail to, it's just to nail it there. But they actually, of course, let's just put this Hear. So the words fall on your ear. That's why you have eardrums, rhythm, and in your heart, heartbeat. So when you have these two things working succinctly, it's like music to your ears. I would find, this is what I mean, I would find Brother Polight very irresistible myself. Because for me, it's about someone, he's got a mind, someone who can articulate, someone who's able to give you. He speaks how many languages? He actually created his own language as well. His daughter, he helped deliver his child, knew about the placenta and, and the splints and things, and to what to do to get his child. His child is 4 and speaking 4 languages, he said, whether it's true or not. But I think the child would, know few words in each language that he's talking about. But still, isn't it something? So I'm saying I would find that irresistible if I had not been awoken. I would find Brother Polight very interesting. I would find him very fascinating. I would find him very captivating. He would have been my spiritual pimp in this sense. So unless you are awoken, yeah, I would have him as my spiritual pimp, basically, and glue myself to paying attention to him. So I would find him very irresistible. And so I am encouraging people who have been sexually traumatized, or who had some trauma, or who have been a perpetrator, or whatever it is. Learn how to cultivate the art of self-love for yourself. When you do that, no one can actually use your energy without your consent. And that in that way that you are conscious about how much energy you are giving to anyone, or you are actually dealing in fair exchange of energy, meaning that you know that you are learning something. Also, you are remembering to like and subscribe and share of the videos. So thank you for watching, people. Like and subscribe and share of the videos. I am Crime Queen, your partner in crime.